Hello, can everybody hear me just fine? Okay, I'll take that as a yes. Well, I got to tell you, it's a deeply humbling experience, and it's great to see as many people here who are committed and interested in this position, and definitely in the growth and development of this university, and of this department, and of this region. So I'll start off talking about who I am. As soon as I get my clicker to work. Obviously, we'll talk about the agenda. I'll talk about who I am, where I come from, and what I plan on doing. And we'll have opportunity for questions afterwards. And that's the wrong way. First of all, I am from Kansas City, Missouri. I was born in Philadelphia, but I was raised 50 miles from here in Grandview, Missouri. I started off as I tell this joke all the time, not a very good football player. So I started off as so I was so good Monday through Fridays, they gave me Saturdays off. So I decided to take a different career path, and I was involved with the Office of Community Engagement at the University of Central Missouri, where I had the opportunity to work with summer transition programs, summer bridge programs, and that's a lot where my expertise lies in. Also working with programming towards students of color, cultural celebrations, and stuff of that nature to promote campus community and diversity on a campus that is predominantly white. So that's a lot of my experience, but you know, like I said, I grew up here, and that building might be familiar to you guys. But I'm not even going to torture you guys by trying to figure out who is who. But that's my, regardless of what happens, that is my all-time favorite Kansas student. That's my twin brother. He passed away in 2007, and he is, oh, it's okay, it's a good story. He inspires me every day, so absolutely. And that building is right across the street over there. So I've gained a couple pounds, I lost my hairline, but it's okay. But he left this institution a graduate. And like I said, I come from Philadelphia. I come from a first generation low income background. And we are all the sum of our experiences. That's who I am. I came to college underprepared. And I know that for a lot of students, especially students of color, they have to work harder than a lot of students. So a lot of times I worked tirelessly in Ward Edwards, and that's the kind of practice I bring to this position in my profession, is working continuously and tirelessly to ensure that our students are supported and have all the support they need to be successful. And like I said, you know, my brother, like I said, died at 24, but I think his greatest accomplishment is right over there at the Campanile, graduating from the University of Kansas. I went to Central Missouri State University for my undergrad and master's. And I'm not going to gain too many friends by saying this in this room, but I went to the University of Missouri at Columbia, where I studied black men, historically black fraternities. Oh, wrong way again. I want to talk about my philosophy as an educator. My philosophy as an educator is to change lives through the opportunity of education. And I believe that wholeheartedly. For me, that's what it did for me at Central. That's what it did for my brother here at Kansas. He had an opportunity. And when he came here, my first 4 pages of my dissertation are talking about how he felt, both he and I, black men who went to 2 different universities in 2 different states in 2 different types, felt alienated, isolated, and they felt lonely. And for me, both of us joined the same fraternity, and we were involved that way. But for him, it was a lot of being involved with the OMA, being a part of the fraternity, being a football player at Kansas. So that is what I talked about that's what made me study what I wanted to study, to understand that student population. That's where my expertise lies in. So you have 2 poor boys from Philadelphia going to graduate from 2 of the greatest universities in the country. And that is the opportunity that's it's deeply humbling to be here and talk about this opportunity. So that's where I come from. So that's what I protest as an educator. My vision is to make the Office of Multicultural Affairs at the University of Kansas the model of other top-tier public international research universities to follow. And I think that means being visible, being high touch, being student-centered, and working outside the OMA. You can't stay inside the Kansas Union. You got to go outside the union. You got to go outside the surrounding community. You got to go to Kansas City, you got to go to Wichita, you got to go to Chicago. We have to focus on recruitment, but in addition to recruitment, you also have to focus on retention. That's the primary goal. You just can't bring them there. You got to help them be successful when they get there. And at the same time, you got to promote awareness, which I'm going to talk about shortly. But that's the thing, you got to focus on that. And I think by doing those things will make us the model to follow from other research universities like Kansas. These are my objectives. I want to focus on being student-centered, campus-wide collaboration. That means from your university departments, your academic deans to the surrounding community, making sure that all campus stakeholders have an opportunity to be participatory, supported, and celebrated, and ensure that our students get the most success, most support that they can out of our campus partners. Developing student self-concept. We talk about, everywhere I've taught a class, because I felt it was important for my students to see a black man teaching a class. That's important to me. But today, in 2015, we still have students who live in a world where they can't identify. These are educators, graduate level students who can't identify an HBCU, or they don't know who James Meredith, or they live in a world where Plessy versus Ferguson doesn't exist. So I think that's incumbent upon us as diversity educators to inform students of that and make them aware and promote awareness not only for students of color, but also students of the larger campus community as well. So, and I think, obviously, I've talked about this a little as collaborating with campus partners inside and outside the university, but also, like I said, recruiting students is not enough. You got to retain them. You got to focus on getting them to come here. So, like I said, you got to get through matriculation to graduation. I had a fraternity brother who was at Central for 7 years. Well, he was retained 8 years. You got to focus on getting them through the university. Yeah, he was retained 7 years. So, I mean, you can't just let them linger there. You got to have an active support network which enables students to be successful and at the same time ensures that they're supported and at the same time being welcomed to the university and feel safe. And I think, in my experience, I've worked with academic programs, talking about major academic support, major support, obviously at Auburn, University of Missouri, and my current role at Arizona State University right now, where we're focusing on developing students who empower themselves, enable themselves to be successful, and I think the OMA does a great job of doing that now, but we want to take that to the next level, having more collaborative partnerships with the departments and the units to ensure that they have a buy-in and making sure that their emphasis on diversity and support of students of color and other underrepresented populations. Also, the social aspect of balancing social activities, mentoring, and community service. One of the things one of my great mentors told me was, you got to be involved. You got to be engaged. And I simply think you can't wait until the students get to campus to engage them and get them involved. I mean, simple things as early, and this is just one example, but sending a certificate or something of that nature to inform the student, congratulate the student. Congratulations, you've been admitted to the freshman class at the University of Kansas. Here's the OMA. How can we help you? This is how we can support you. You just can't wait for students to be there and wait for you. You got to go to them. And I believe that wholeheartedly. That's what we did at Central. That's what we did at Auburn. Hopefully I can do it here at Kansas. And personal, like a lot of students of color, like I described in depth, is that they have a lot of issues with alienation, isolation, and experiencing racism and discrimination. So how can we support students? How can we make the transition as seamless as possible to make them feel welcome? And I think that's the word I want you to take away, is making a campus welcome, safe, and comfortable, where they can become the person they be and treat a university that feels a place that loves them and respect and dignity. So that's why I think should be the role of the OMA, to ensure that students walk away feeling that way. And obviously we discuss students of color, you talk about issues of financial education and balancing work schedules and all that. So I think we should be an advocate and a resource for students of color in that instance. Developing students, like I said, I talked about this when we talk about, educating staff on what is going on in contemporary higher ed in terms of trends and reality and what's going on, how can we help them be successful, and just making sure that they are competent, knowledgeable, and they feel support to be able to enable them to support our students. But also providing learning communities and focusing, I think the OMA does that now, so enhancing that and working on that to ensure that in addition to, I would like to see a transition to a summer bridge program, a summer transition program, so students who are underprepared, when they come here, they can have the support they need prior to coming here, and it, like I said, focus on a safe, welcoming, and supportive environment so students can come here and they can believe they're successful. For example, myself, I came to college underprepared. I came to college without a roadmap. no blueprint. So I had to learn on my own. When my mother dropped me off at Nanger Hall in 2001, and I know that's a long time for a lot of y'all, maybe not for some others, but she said, I can't help you any further. I want to love you and support you, but you're going to have to go out and you're going to have to do this on your own. So for me, I had to seek out the resources and support, and believe it or not, I'm not an extroverted kind of guy, but I knew I wanted to be successful. So I think as educators, we have to engage, we have to support our students, and we have to make sure that this is a resource present for them to take advantage of. And I have study abroad trips, but just an opportunity to broaden students' horizons and opportunity. I sat on a plane in Phoenix, Arizona yesterday, and I was talking to a kid named Jonathan from Scottsdale. He's going to KU, mechanical engineering major. He told me, we're talking about baseball, we're talking about a lot of things. I said, well, John, some of you guys, I was talking to some of you guys a couple of days ago, and we were talking about, I said, what's your experience, how you like it? And for John, I asked him, so tell me about your experience and stuff of that nature. And I was asking him about, have you been to Kansas City and whatnot? And I said, if you've been to Kansas City, you like baseball, you need to go to the Negro League Baseball Museum. And he was like, I've never been. I was like, well, what? You gotta go. So think about that, just that cultural experience of taking a group of students to Kansas City, Missouri to go to 18th and Vine District. And I think that develops self-concept and stuff of that nature to support that. I'm sure you can get partnerships with those communities to ensure that our students who may not be from the region can get that opportunity to be involved. And those are the moments and experiences I want to try to promote if I was selected for this position, to ensure that our students feel welcome, they feel supported, and this is something that is indelible in their college experience that will help them be successful towards graduation. And obviously, you want to go towards Heritage Celebration Cultural Program and leadership sessions. And I've had that experience at Central, at Auburn, and now at ASU. And we talk about tutoring. That is what's paramount. And I think, like I said, it takes a greater degree of collaboration with college departments. These are the people who are the curriculum leaders. They control the curriculum, so why not have partnerships with them? Why not expand it, have a developable relationship with each academic college and department on campus, and on top of that, the purpose of going to college is to get an education, to eventually get employment. So how can we provide support and scholarship opportunities for students to be successful? And those are the opportunities I want to explore and understand, so we can enable our students to be successful. Because in addition to being University of Kansas students, you also want to be successful and productive citizens and promote the mission of the university and for the impact of the state. So that's what I want to do in my administration. And also, we talk about counseling, and students are coming with a lot of opportunities in terms of more and more college students are coming to college with a greater mental disposition than ever. So how can we support students? And even in the Daily Kansan, I read about issues surrounding students and mental health. So that's an issue that needs to be addressed and supported, and that's what I like to support in my administration. And we talk about lunch and learn seminars. It's an opportunity for speakers on various topics to create a culture of consciousness, provide intellectual activities, and serve as a champion for social justice. And I want to focus on social justice, and we talk about privilege and power and how does that play, and those are microaggressions and how they affect students of color and other underrepresented populations. How do we support them? And I think, creating that understanding. Like I said, I went to Mizzou, and I think the experience at Mizzou is not unique to any college campus in America. What is unique is that the students protested, and that's where the OMA originates from, is from the activism of the 1960s and 70s. So for me, we want to support that, and we also want to create a discussion and a dialogue. That's what's important to me, and I think that's where colleges and universities are afraid to discuss race and racism. So the opportunity to discuss those challenges and issues, and how do we support them, and at the same time we create this more productive and supportive environment for all of the campus community at large. And this is where I come from, and that's college recruitment. I recruited at Central, recruited at Auburn, and to a lesser degree I recruit at Arizona State. But my expertise is summer transition programs, summer orientation, stuff of that nature that gets students to come to campus, feel supported, feel welcome, and feel that they can be successful. And we're giving them tools to be successful. So I like to see that here at the University of Kansas. We have an expansion of the HawkLink program. We have a pre-college residential program in which students come for 3 to 4 weeks in which they have a pre-college experience where they take actual classes at the University of Kansas, and they get the experience that a lot of students who are underprepared desperately need. Also, when you talk about summer bridge programs, bridging the gap with local communities to ensure that students who come from underrepresented populations can come to campus and develop college-going behavior, because it's an investment on the future. If you think about students who come from underrepresented populations and they're 8th graders, and I think wholeheartedly you need to start recruiting students as early as 3rd grade, because you need to develop that sense of college-going behavior, that sense of academic excellence, and academic, making this a place of support. So that's why I like to promote. We talk about the inverted triangle in higher ed, where we have a lot of undergrad students relative, less grad students, and even fewer graduate professors. So we need to do that, and I like to be involved with the graduate school, see if we can collaborate to invite, support recruiting graduate students to eventually be TAs and professors, to diversify not only the field of higher education, but here at the University of Kansas, to ensure that they, you're looking at, you feel better in an environment where you see people that look like you, and you can see this culture of success and this culture of support. And that's why I think it's paramount is collaboration with each and every department to ensure that we are doing everything we can to ensure students are welcome, they feel safe, and they can grow and develop and learn in a place like this. And we talk about, like I said, preparing students, obviously professional schools and stuff of that nature, preparing for testing and stuff of that nature, providing I want the OMA to be a resource for students to feel like they can go to graduate school, they can go through undergrad and be successful and go to graduate school and continue to diversify the field of education as well as Kansas. And we talk about research. And I'm preparing for this interview, like I said, I'm a Kansas City kid, grew up in Kansas City, so for me, I talked to a lot of alumnus, and we talked about the concerns they have, and I'm personally invested in this position. Not only it's close to home for me, but it's also where my brother went to school, and that means a lot to me. So for the opportunity to talk to several alumnus and get their take on what do they want of their OMA director, what do they want of the students, how they want to collaborate, and there's definitely opportunities where you have alumnus from various ethnic backgrounds who want to support their institution, want to support that. And I think, we got this great big city down the street called Kansas City, Missouri, or Kansas City, Kansas, where you can have students have partnerships outside the university. And that's why I think of, when you think of partnerships outside the university, having alumnus, and I think that's important. You can help, they are our biggest advocates, our alumnus and our students. They're the ones that are going to talk about how great of a place this is. So that's why I am focusing on, my administration will focus on shadowing and recruitment and retention and focusing on that. And then we'll focus on as well as programming to ensure that we promote awareness and promote a culture of support around this campus. And I think these are the 3 primary goals to providing a supportive campus, and that's to build and maintain an inclusive campus environment, to recruit, support, retain graduate students of color, and to advocate, support, and listen to the issues, needs, concerns of the students, faculty, staff of color, and members from other underrepresented campus groups. I think the bottom line is this. You need to listen to students. You need to hear their concerns. You need to have a dialogue. This cannot be a monologue. I'm not going to sit up here and talk to you. I want to know what's your concerns. I want to know how can we help these students. I think that's paramount to ensuring that programs like this are successful as you listening to the pulse. It can't be in a vacuum. You've got to be able to hear the concerns and issues that arose from the community and how do we support them. And just a diagram of how this is all a relationship to support. What we want to do is get students of color come, feel welcome and safe here at this institution. And like I said, I think these are the things that I think are going to help us in enhancing the experience in multicultural affairs. It's encouraging awareness, improving understanding, and promoting appreciation and valuing differences to gaining common ground. And I think encouraging awareness by recruiting prospective students, which I kind of outlined for you, is we need to have a more intrusive experience of recruiting students in the local surrounding areas and our larger feeder areas to ensure that we increase the students. But like I said, you can't wait till they get here. You got to focus on getting them to come here. And I think we need to use our student leaders, our student workers, and I want to say student workers. You need to promote student workers to be student leaders, because that's who they're going to be. They're going to lead this institution, and they need to be leaders in the community as well as the state. So I think they're our biggest ally, and I want to utilize those students as much as I can to help recruit our students. But also current students, what are we doing now? How can we help this? And I understand there's been a sense of disillusionment, and how can we turn the page and move forward and make it a better tomorrow, as opposed to, you know, this is Windows service. I don't want to do that. I want to focus on ensuring that we turn the page and be a leader in this country in terms of diversity for students of color and other underrepresented populations. And I think obviously events and training and workshops need to be integral to the university's mission in ensuring that they feel we are promoting awareness, we're promoting sensitivity, and how can we help people overcome their biases, prejudices, and that stuff of that nature. And I think, like I said, I think outreach to diverse stakeholders within and outside the university is paramount to collaboration, not only for limited state resources, but also for opportunities for our students as well as the university. And I think improving understanding starts with the staff. In learning communities, I think, you know, obviously you have the opportunity. I think you got a big learning community downstairs in the Sabatini Center, where you have students who, this is a place where they feel welcome, they feel safe. And for me, coming to Kansas all these years, that's where I've always identified a place where students feel safe and they feel welcome, but also providing community that focuses on academic excellence outside of the Sabatini Center as well. And I think welcome back celebrations in paramount, but also having celebrations in communities, like, say, for instance, I'll use Kansas City because I'm from there, but you know, how hard is it to have a celebration where you have a gathering of students who come from the Lee Summit, Blue Springs area, and that's not too familiar, that's east on I-70, but you know, having a celebration at a midpoint where you can say, hey, we're part of the Jayhawk Nation, we're coming to Kansas, and you know, having alumni come, and that's very simple, but at the same time it goes a long way to those communities that feel like for a long time they haven't gotten support, or they have heard their issues, concerns heard. So I think those are some of the things that can help in building this community, ensuring that we not only recruit students, but we most importantly retain the students. And we talk about tutoring and mentoring, diversity seminars, but also we need to do program evaluation to ensure what we're doing works. That what we're doing, it works because we say it works. No, we have to have evidence that what we're doing is working, and ensure that we can assess it and we can have benchmarks for success, and I think having a buy-in from the community. And obviously preparing graduation seminars, we talk a little about that in terms of promoting our graduates so that they leave the institute not just as a student but as a graduate and going on to the next level. And I think collaborations with career services or the many opportunities out in the state to help ensure that our students are gainfully employed when they leave, and just intergroup dialogue. And I think that's really the black mark on higher education today, is that a lot of us are afraid to have the discussion that we need to have. And that's a frank and honest discussion about race, racism, and privilege and power in higher ed. So I think that's something I would like to promote and discuss, and I think it needs to be followed with implementation of realistic and positive and substantial change. And like I said, programs, talking about campus climate studies and program services. In conclusion, I'd like to talk about, like I said, I think for me, I want to ensure that my program is student-centered. They are paramount to what we do in higher ed, and we're here to support our students. Developing student self-confidence concept to ensure that they feel welcome, that it's a place of support, a place of encouragement, and you know, continue the tradition of the OMA being a family. And we're collaborating with others. I think that's paramount in anything you do in higher ed. Not just diversity, but also other aspects of higher ed. But also retaining students to graduation. I think not retaining students 8 years for 7 times, but focusing on a traditional 4 to 6 years of graduation and ensure they feel safe and welcome, and they're not just lingering along the education continuum. And like I said, the blueprint for action speaks for itself, and ensuring those are the 3 main things I feel are pertinent to ensuring that we feel successful in higher ed. And we talked enhancing your education experience in multicultural affairs by encouraging awareness, improving understanding, and promoting appreciation and discovering common ground. So I want to thank you for your attention, and I'll open up for questions.
Don't make
I know
when
when.
teacher come walk to you and say, you said you were going to ask a question. Like, back, Kathy, back in the back, please.
Dr. Brown, you talked about a goal focusing on recruitment, retention, and graduation of students of color. How do other underrepresented groups fit into that goal for you?
I think that's understanding the dynamic of power and privilege and understanding, well, I got to repeat your question, I'm sorry. But the question was, how do you help not just students of color, but underrepresented student populations as well? And I think that's understanding a element of power and privilege. And I think, I think diversity is more than just color or ethnicity. I think it's also ability, ideology, political leanings. It's about ability. So I think those are some of the issues. So making sure that we feel we are collaborating with our other campus partners to ensure that this is an area of support for other areas outside of race, color, ethnicity, sexual orientation, stuff of that nature, to ensure that this is a welcoming and supportive campus community for all. And that's why I want to focus on community, not necessarily students of color. So I don't want to misrepresent what I say. I want to make sure this is a welcoming, supportive campus community for all. Hi.
Hey, so you grew up in Kansas City, and
Yes, ma'am.
Lawrence is kind of a unique place in Kansas. It tends to be very white and very liberal, which presents its own kind of problems around privilege and understanding, from a group of people who really feel like they don't have those problems. How do you address that and open the eyes to the sort of unconscious privilege?
I think the hardest thing for people to recognize is that they do in fact have privilege. And I think we have to have an evidence of supporting students of color as well as other underrepresented populations. And at the same time, we have a duty to educate about power and privilege and other injustices. So I think that's paramount, is to ensure that this is a priority for us, and that this is something that we need to advocate for and ensure that, and I'm not just concerned about the Lawrence area, I'm concerned about the whole state, because I think what needs to happen is diversity and needs to be in a curriculum. It needs to be integrated in a curriculum, and I think my administration will focus on partnerships with the other college campuses, colleges and academic units to ensure that they are making sure that diversity is a priority in their curriculum and however fast they can, and ensure that we have partnerships with those, but also in the campus and the community. I think, focusing on, at Missouri we had the Minority Men's Network, where it was just an opportunity to have men from around the community promote concerns and issues and concerns around the community about issues concerning people of color and other underrepresented populations. But at Central, we had a community coffee network where we just listen and discuss those issues of what's going on in the community about concerns that they have. These may be around race, this may be around sexual orientation, and maybe about ability, and how can we address those concerns. And we need to listen to the community rather than we're operating in a vacuum. Does that answer your question? Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
You talk about having a mentoring program where you integrate upperclassmen and faculty and staff. Given that there's already so few faculty of color, how do you work with white faculty and make them not only understand the necessity to participate, but help them understand specific needs of students of color?
Well, I'm very fortunate to have a lot of mentors that doesn't look just like me. So that's my experience, and that's authentic to me. But I think preparing for this interview, I talked to a lot of alumnus and a lot of staff members, faculty members, as a matter of fact, about their concerns. And I think they're hungry for that opportunity. They want that opportunity. And the realities of it is that organizations like the OMA have limited resources, limited staff, so you got a whole army outside who may be interested in student staff and development and growth. So we got to identify those individuals. We have to support them how we can and get them hooked up with students to ensure that that they're partnering with students. At Arizona State, we have Obama scholars and we have mentors for each scholar, and people volunteer. But at the same time, I think we can. That could be a part of the university's commitment from each academic college discussing, hey, this is what we want. How can we do it? And I think it's about wanting to do it rather than being forced to do it. And I think that's the priority. And I think for the most part in higher ed, you'll find people who are willing to do that rather than, no, I don't want to do that. So. Hi.
Thank you for coming to speak to me today. I don't want to assume I'm walking like your pronouns are he. What are your pronouns? The pronouns are
He and his.
Thank you, she, her, and hers. The Office of Multicultural Affairs is very much a social justice space. So I want to know your take on the difference between a space that is centered around diversity and a space that is centered around social justice.
I think that with diversity, you enable social justice. I think that you listen to the students and where they come from, the communities they come from, because I've taught it everywhere I worked at. I've taught, and I've talked about issues around diversity, social justice, and I think you really have to focus on listening to the needs and the concerns of the stakeholders and the students that are there. So that being said, I think that they're going to, students, if you talk to them long enough, they're going to talk about what they don't like and what they do like. So I think, if they, many of times I've sat and talked to students about their concerns and how is that a problem and how can we do that. At the University of Central Missouri, it's an unfortunate event that happened at our university, but we had a program called Beyond Words, in which is an experiential learning experience where you assume an identity and based off stereotypes, you're treated disparately based off that identity. And at the end of it, you have a small group discussion. Well, at that point, we had an opportunity in the small group discussion where I was leading, and we had students who discussed, they had a Martin Luther King celebration in which they celebrate by wearing what they perceive gangster wear while drinking 40s and eating fried chicken. And that's not something the university condones or supports, and at the same time provide a learning opportunity. So, but that came from that small group discussion because of the opportunity to listen to the community, hear what their concerns are, and that's a concern. So that we did a lot of work to ensure that that was a safe, supportive, and welcoming environment for students of color. Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So the OMA tends to be, well not tends to be, it is a safe space for our multicultural fraternities and sororities, our MPAC and our MGC. So I want to know if you had any experience, or what is your experience working with MPAC, MGC, and supporting them at the OMA institution?
Well, I am a proud member of Alpha Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, pledged at the Zeta Gamma chapter at the University of Central Missouri. I was the chapter advisor there. I was also the chapter advisor at Auburn University. My research is on black men and historically black fraternities, and I'm pretty certain I'm the expert on black Greeks in the state of Kansas at this very moment, unless Walter Kimbrough's here. So that's my area of expertise, but providing that support, but even like just providing support for students of color, for my expertise as a black man, and my expertise is on black males. So incorporating that into other oppressed minorities and students of color. So that's where my expertise lies in, but I'm very familiar with the traditions, culture, and history of black Greek letter organizations. Yes, sir.
So there are a number of activities, programs, etc. at OMA and throughout the college. So in your research, what programs do you see that are here? How would you build upon them, and what programs would you bring to add to?
Well, I can speak to my expertise and what's in the literature, and I definitely think about HawkLink as a great opportunity. I was talking about my brother and his experience and how he came here, and I think had he been hooked up with HawkLink before, it would enable him to be even more successful. But the point is, I think summer bridge programs and summer transition programs are the way to be. And let me differentiate what a summer bridge program is versus a summer transition program. Summer bridge is a program where you want to communicate with a community or a population that you want to get prior to college. So we're talking about 7th, 8th grade, 9th grade, so on. But summer transition programs are for our students who have been admitted, they're coming to college, and ensure they are getting the support they need. In a lot of cases, my experience has been with underpreparedness. So that's what I would like to bring, is a summer transition program, a residential experience for a lot of our students. They don't know what living in a residence hall feels like. They don't have a lot of them don't have a experience where they know what college is going to look like. If they're going to come into college, like my brother and myself, where they don't know what to expect. They don't know anything about a university bill. They don't know where, you know, the old adage of, I only knew where to eat because I followed the line at dinner time. So, promoting that college-going behavior, promoting that support, providing that culture of success, that's what I would like to expand upon. I hope I answered all your guys' questions. I thought I'd get more questions.
Lots of nice smiles out there, I tell you that. Well, again, can we thank Dr. Brown?
Thank you. Thank you.